Welcome back, and I'm delighted to say that now, here in the studio with us, as promised earlier, is the wonderful, the one and only Mr. Mark Knopfler.
OBE.
So we're very pleased to have you here, Mark.
Calm yourselves.
It's hard to hold ourselves back. We're so pleased that you're here. The new album, Down the Road Wherever, is coming out, and we're going to start off with a track from it. What should we play?
Well, you know, we were just chatting about Imelda, and Imelda was on this one with me.
Imelda May?
Yeah, it's Imelda May, and such a talented singer, and I really think she made a great contribution to this one.
And when did you write this one?
Now that's a tricky question, Jules. When did I write this? How long is a piece of string? Because sometimes a thing can sit around in the files for a while. So I reckon it's been a good few months putting it together before I got into the studio to do it.
Yeah, what a beautiful sound. And there's Imelda on the end there, singing her backing vocal. Imelda May. And joining us here now, Mark Knopfler. Yes, it's fantastic. What a great sounding record. So that's Back on the Dance Floor from Down the Road Wherever, which is just out this week, which is a wonderful new record. And you recorded it all. You've got a studio which is quite remarkable and unique, because where in the last few years some people have been chucking their old studio gear away, a bit like when somebody might come into the granddad's house, oh, that Rembrandt's a bit old, that Chippendale's a bit past it, so they chuck it all away. That's sort of what's happened with a lot of the studio stuff, but you have wisely got some of it in, haven't you?
Well, yes, there actually was short of storage space in there, but the whole idea is just to make it flexible. So if a film company wants to come and make a modern surround soundtrack, they can do all that. But if you want to come in and make a little analog record with 50s gear, 60s gear, 70s gear, you can sort of pick and choose all that stuff, and you can make like a Sun-type record if you want to.
So now let's go on to some of the records you've chosen tonight. The first one you've chosen is by Patti Page.
Yes. Now, you looked at me in a kind of an accusing way when you said that.
No, there's I should just explain the change in my face, which was, I would say, one eyebrow raised perhaps 1/10 of a millimetre. That was all.
Well,
and you call that accusing?
Well, yes, I do, Your Honour. But no, it's actually, I chose Love Letters because I love the song. When I grew up as a kid, the Ketty Lester version, which we'll all know, and I'm sure you can play on the piano if you want to, we loved. And it was like a gospel-influenced version of a song. But it's actually just like a crooner song, in fact. I found out really through just listening to cover versions on Spotify. And it's one of the things that I like to do. And I was chatting to your delightful band about it. And they all do the same thing. And one of the amazing things about these days is that you can become a music expert. You can sort of find out who's done all of these versions of songs. And I found another version, which is just a great song, and it's a very sweet version.
Marvellous research. Let's hear that piece of music. Love Letters by Patti Page, discussing the music with Mark Knopfler. Yeah. Mark, we were talking about how nowadays it is easier to look stuff up.
Well, actually, I did look up once. I was looking up the Gettysburg Address not very long ago, and it said, was delivered to victorious Union troops on so-and-so, 18, so-and-so, delivered by SpongeBob SquarePants. So you've got to be careful out there.
Yeah, you've got to be careful. Don't believe anything unless you've seen it yourself.
Right.
So I would be prosecuted by the authorities and the musical police and so forth, Mark, if we had you in here and we didn't get you to play something for us. So it would be great if you would play something. What could we play?
Well, I thought there is a song which I know by Dirk Powell.
Tell us about Dirk Powell.
Dirk Powell is he's a Cajun musician, but he's getting pretty well known now. He was actually out playing with Eric Clapton, and he goes around with Joan Baez and props up all the whole. He's one of those people. He plays a lot of instruments. He plays beautiful fiddle and banjo and guitar, and so he's a terrific all-rounder. But I like this song because it's an old actually Waterbound is an old folk tune that I think he's kind of just been influenced by and adapted, but he's made it into a whole new thing, which is very much his. And it's about the being waterbound means when the floods on the bayou would come up and you would be absolutely completely hemmed in. That's what it really means.
Which could be also a metaphor for all sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and you've got a very nice guitar that I see, a nice white Fender Stratocaster you've got there. Huh?
Yeah, this is it's an old 60s Strat that seemed to, when I tuned it to an open chord and played a bit of slide over it, a bottleneck, it seemed to make a good sound. So it's actually been pressed into service as a slide guitar now.
Just before we play this, do you find this, that if you pick up a certain instrument, say in a shop or wherever, or somebody's house, some instruments just like want to be your friend straight away? They're just like butter in your hands, whatever it is.
They do.
And others are you've got to sort of beat them into submission.
Yes.
A bit annoying if we're in somebody else's house and it's their instrument, but there you are.
You must find that with pianos wherever you go. And in fact, I have conversations with pianists about that. They say, what would be your choice? What would you like to see when you walk into a studio? And then I suppose in your case, it's sometimes when you go to a gig and, they're supposed to provide a piano, that must cover a multitude of sins.
Well, we take our own one, you see. Mm-hmm. But really, I like those. There's some of those old pianos. Some people pronounce, I've been places, somebody will pronounce an old piano sort of unplayable, and I'll play on it. It'll be the most comfortable pair of slippers I've ever got to know.
That's a funny thing, isn't it? And it's how you play them. I mean, I actually talk to guitar players about this all the time, and people assume that because you're in a successful setup, you've got expensive instruments, and some of them are. But I love cheap guitars as much. If you love them all, and they've all got something to say.
Yeah, and they've all got a little spirit imbibed in them, haven't they, the older ones, which is lovely. Anyway, here we go.
That was deliberately rough, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen.
we just tried it once. Very nice. Mark doing a nice harmony with Mark there. Mark Knopfler with Waterbound, with all of us joining in and enjoying ourselves. Mark, that's very nice indeed.
Thank you. And first take, which is the sign of a wonderful band that you have here, Jules.
Well, it all falls apart after that.
The wheels fall off, ladies
Duke
and gentlemen.
Ellington always used to like the first take, of course. Van Morrison always likes the first take.
yeah.
It's got a certain spirit to it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was actually in the room once recording with Van, and the engineer forgot to press the record button.
Ooh.
Oh dear. Still alive.
It's not working, though, presumably, whatever.
I don't know. It wasn't a good moment.
Your next choice of record is Mystery Train, which is another part of the element that inspires you. I'm saying that, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but that style of
Absolutely.
rockabilly and rock and roll, that early roots music.
Yeah, that's where we all come from, probably a lot of us in this room. And, it was just so important. The records that were being made in Sun at that time, Elvis and Jerry Lee and all of those people. But in fact, there was a black band playing in there with that lot as well. And they were very cool dudes. They had their coiffed hair and everything, and sharp suits. And they're from down there too. And, and that was Junior Parker, who's just young dudes, but very cool and way ahead of their time.
You could just imagine Elvis listening to that, couldn't you? As a young lad somewhere.
Absolutely, just soaking it all in, and coming out. That came out in a load of Elvis records, didn't it?
Yeah, goes to show you can never tell what's around the corner. In fact, who knows? At the end of this show, we might all be going to the moon. And when I say all of us, I mean like all the listeners as well, the lot.
Yeah, we're all ready for anything, aren't we, Jules?
Yeah, you got to be these days.
I'm a coiled spring, personally.
That's what I thought. When you came in. Before we go, we're going to hear one more song from your record, which is Just a Boy Away from Home.
Yeah, that's who he was.
Thank you for joining us, Mark Knopfler.
Yeah.